Howdy again, everybody. This is Doc with ThoroFan, and hope you are enjoying this wonderful summer of racing, be it Saratoga, Del Mar, Ellis Park, Woodbine, anywhere throughout the country. You're just seeing some outstanding races, outstanding racehorses. This is, of course, one of the best times of the year for racing, and we're not done yet. The summer's only going to keep heating up as we get towards the end of some of these meets. Travers coming up, Pacific Classic coming up. Just some great racing. 2-year-olds becoming much more prominent this time of year as we look for those Derby dreamers. And one thing that you, as a fan or handicapper, may have partaken in or may have seen a lot of people partaking in are these handicapping contests or online contests or contests at the track picking winners. And I think a lot of fans, see them. They see things certainly like the Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge, the Kentucky Derby Betting Challenge, some of these big tournaments that are featured on the broadcast and wonder, well, how can I get involved in that? How can I potentially earn my seat into the National Handicapping Championship that's held every year in Vegas? Well, we at ThoroFan were very lucky to sit down with one of our newest ThoroFan members, MJ Moncheski. You may know her. You may have seen some of her picks in the Handicappers Corner segments that are featured on our website and in our newsletter, so be sure to subscribe if you want to check those out. But she has been a tournament player for a while now and really brings a great perspective of it from the fan and the newbie in a way of getting involved in these tournaments. So we had a chance to sit down and talk with her a little bit about the tournaments, about racing, about some of her favorite racehorses. So let's sit back and enjoy this wonderful talk we had with MJ Moncheski as we discuss getting involved in online and trackside handicapping tournaments. Yes, so we are delighted to have with us today MJ Moncheski. She is one of the newest members of the ThoroFan community and has contributed to our Handicappers Corner segment. I'm sure many of you have seen that on our newsletter, or hopefully have. And MJ, thank you so much for joining us today to talk a little bit about tournaments.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm
Great.
happy to be here.
So, we kind of like to ask people first, especially those that are members of ThoroFan and have helped us out. Like, how did you become involved in racing and become the fan that you are?
Yeah, so it's always kind of been in the background. I started in horses and riding horses when I was 3 years old. So I've been in the equine industry for about 33 years now, basically since I could walk. My grandpa, though, he owned a racehorse. I think, yeah, just one. A horse named Airturn, in the 70s at Fairmount Park near St. Louis. And his trainer was Raul Martinez, which roundabout way is the father of Ralph Martinez, who currently still trains at Fairmount. Um, so it's always kind of been in the background. And then I went to undergrad at Morehead State in Kentucky and got a little bit more exposed to horse racing. Went to College Day at Keeneland. That was the first time I ever went to a racetrack. I had no idea what I was doing. I was just picking horses and whatever, just having fun, like most college kids do at a racetrack. That was probably in 2010, and it wouldn't be for 11 more years until I really got into racing because I met someone who liked horse racing, and he took me to Churchill Downs, and it was like I could just feel the magical atmosphere there. It was Stephen Foster weekend in 2021, and I was like, I want to be a part of this more, and I started learning how to handicap, and that following year at Breeders' Cup watch party at Churchill Downs, I was sitting at Wagner's about to, leave to go to Indiana, and some locals were talking to me, and they thought I had a horse racing that day, and I was like, no, I wish I owned a horse, and so we got talking, and I just, left there thinking, like, as I was crossing back into Indiana, I was like, why couldn't I own a racehorse if people already think I am an owner? So I just set a goal of I would love to have an all-female team, filly, trainer, all that to promote women in the industry, and I wanted to be an informed owner. So one of the ways that I figured I could become an informed owner is first learning how the game is played. Um, and so I started with learning how to handicap. I found someone who had been to the national handicapping contest, and he started teaching me the ins and outs of angles and patterns and how to read the forms, and it just went from there. So the last 4 years has just been like cramming knowledge of anything I can get my hands on just to learn the different aspects of the industry from, playing the game, which I call equine chess. Because I like playing chess, and now I was just moving horses around. So yeah, it's been an interesting journey. I've met so many different people in the industry that every time I go to the racetrack, I meet someone new, who teaches me something new about the sport. So
Oh, no, that's really cool.
yeah,
And kind of you touched on it, obviously, and we want to talk to you more about it. But you and I've noticed this from following you on X and a couple other platforms. You are very big now into the tournament plays, especially
yes,
locally. I see you kind
yeah,
of post results and stuff. So I think it's something that a lot of fans, especially casual fans, don't really understand. They see probably during the national telecast Derby week or especially for the Breeders' Cup. The Breeders' Cup betting challenge is mentioned every now and then. And Belmont recently had one, a Belmont betting challenge and things. But obviously those are the big time stakes and
yes.
also lead up to the National Handicapping Championship that happens every year in Las Vegas. But if you can kind of give maybe a watered down view or just a simplistic view of what is involved in getting involved in these tournaments and how can the casual fan kind of become a tournament player like you have?
Yeah, so I started getting involved in them as a way to further learn the game, but also gain more confidence in forming my own opinions and just kind of testing to see where I was at against other players. Like, am I right? Am I on the track? Am I doing this right? Am I kind of there? So I first started looking for different betting platforms that had um, minimal entry fees for their contest. One of those being ExpressBet. They had live, what we call live contests or live money. So usually you could find like $40 feeders, so $20 to enter, and then you have a $20 bankroll. And most of those contests are in the format of the NHC tournament, where it's a $2 win place bet. And then it's cumulative, if your horse comes in either of those, you're winning points and those dollar amounts. So you have your live money contests, and then you have contests on like horsetourneys.com and horseplayers.com where it's called pick and pray, where you literally are just going on, you're handicapping, you're putting your picks in, and then the races start and you can't change at all. You're praying that your horses come in. So there's a little bit of different formats, and then even on horse tourneys and horse players, they even have other kind of more fun tournaments where it's you're picking exactas, and they have one that's called like a pool option. So it just depends on what someone is looking for, but I suggest that people start to look for ones with minimal entries, just to get their feet wet and kind of understanding the rules and the format of how it kind of works.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you mentioned some that are kind of like online and things like that.
Yeah.
Do local tracks near you offer them as well, or is it mostly online that you're going to find these?
No, so some tracks do offer live contests. So my home track is Horseshoe, Indianapolis, and they're awesome during their summer meet. Well, their whole meet really, but they've just finished some of their weekly contests. So every day they have different fun ones. Like I just won the jockey agent one on I think it was Tuesdays. You would just pick two jockeys, and you could play live at the track, or you can email um, online and enter that. And so there's those informal contests that tracks are doing to either give winning prize money away to the top like five people or three people. And then also some of those contests, like at the Indiana Derby, they also had I forget what they call it. Was usually during the week it's called John Dooley's Legends. So you just pick a winner of horses in like race 3 through 8. And on the big days, the top two people would win an entry into an NHC qualifier or a trip to Vegas. They also on that day hosted a $5 buy-in, or $5. I wish it was $5. $500 buy-in, $500 entry, and it was an actual NHC qualifier that was live there. So they have the contest going. I know Churchill, they have different live playing contests as well. You mentioned like the Breeders' Cup Challenge. That's a big live in-person one. That's a little bit of heftier
Yeah,
entry
a
buy-in.
little higher buy-in.
Yeah, $10,000 buy-in, but you can play feeder contests to get into qualifiers that you can then win those qualifiers and free entries into those big contests. And they would pay for you to come to those contests to play live. Um, so yeah, Keeneland, I know in October, well, April and October, they always have like a Keeneland betting challenge as well. Del Mar has a, I think it's like the Del Mar Cup Challenge, or I know there's something at Del Mar like happening now or starting to happen. And then Gulfstream Park always has the Pegasus World Cup betting challenge as well. So there's always opportunities to do smaller contests that can get you into the bigger contests for free. It just takes some time and practice to
Mhm.
get there.
Yeah, and talent too, I would imagine. I mean, I guess it's a
Yes,
mixture of talent
yes,
and luck, but definitely.
yes,
Uh,
yeah,
so for like these smaller contests, maybe that you're playing that might either be feeders or just ones that are unique.
yeah.
How many, in your experience, like how many people are participating in those,
Oh
on a
gosh.
regular basis? So,
It really depends. Like I've been in contests where there's only like 15 people that are playing that day or that for that track. I've been in some of these feeder contests that are like 65 to 150 people. And then when you get into the qualifiers, you're playing against about 500 people because it's other people who've either paid their way in or have won entries into that qualifier. And we're all trying for like two or three spots to get to Vegas.
yeah, and I guess if you could explain a little bit, you kind of explained it, but like especially for the National Handicapping Championships, which is in Vegas
Yeah,
every year, uh, those are mostly based on these kind of like qualifying tournaments, right? So that's usually how
yeah,
most of those people get into that format. So how does that
yeah.
qualifying setup work to get you into Vegas?
So usually the qualifying rounds, so I should back up. So feeder contest, depending on what you enter, a lot of times it'll be like you could pay, I think there's like sometimes like $25 feeder contest or $50, depends. There's some that are even like $12 feeder contests. And they might focus on just a track for that day. So it might be, say, all the races of Saratoga for that day. And you win that feeder into an NHC qualifier. Once you get to that qualifier, you could be picking from a few races from like five different tracks that day. So it could be races, 3 through 5 at Gulfstream. It could be races 1 through 2 at Belmont, whatever it may be. So to win that qualifier, you have to look at those handicap multiple tracks. So you're really testing your skills of, okay, who are the jockeys at each track that day? Who are the trainers? Who are the big players, as I call them? Who's gonna help me get? You just need a couple long shots. I mean, honestly, it just takes sometimes you could be losing the whole entire contest and maybe have like $5 and you're $200 away from the winner and you hit a very viable long shot and that could bump you into second place and you suddenly have also won a seat. So you have to know what are at least my strategies involved finding sometimes depending on how the tracks are playing that day or sometimes I look the last couple days like okay has the track been playing really fast like have more has it been more chalks or favorites winning? Have there been bombs? So I tend to go with the strategy of some very good long shots with some of the better favorites. Not super chalky favorites, but at least enough that like if I only need $3 to get ahead, that horse can get me $3.
Mhm.
So
So
yeah.
yeah, so and then I guess if you happen to be lucky enough to bump your way or win into those, for
Yes.
most of these qualifiers, is that the way it works? Like usually the top two or three are the ones that.
Yeah, it depends. Some say like for every 25 people, there's an entry into the NHC contest or a qualifier or whatever it may be. So it's usually like every increments of like 25 people, they'll add an additional spot to win. But so if there's only 25 people that day, it could only be like the first two people. But then if there's 50, they'll add another entry, so it could be the top three people. So yeah, it varies by the contest rules.
Okay.
Yeah,
And you kind of, I mean, this, I guess it's kind of implied there, but so there's no kind of like set cap number for the NHC. So that kind of just depends on how
correct. Yeah.
people play into the, uh,
Yes.
and can you, for the larger term of the NHC, can you buy your way into that, or do you have to win the
Yes.
qualifiers to get in?
No, you
Okay.
can 100%. There are people that buy entries into the NHC. Um, I have not been to the NHC yet, so I can't speak on like all the rules of the NHC. But yeah, there are people that you can, for all these qualifiers and feeders, all the contests, you can certainly buy your way in. For me, I would love to win an entry just because it'd be like, really testing my skills like, hey, I made it. Like I really earned
Yep.
this spot here. Yeah.
Um,
So yeah.
no, so that's really interesting, and I'm sure there's people that look at it from both
Right.
both ends
Right.
of the spectrum.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
one thing I did notice that was interesting about some of the contests that I've watched and stuff is you can actually have more than one entry in some
Yes.
of these contests. So
Yeah.
how does that work with some of them? Or is there a limit to how many you can have? Or
Yes. So some contests I've only really seen, I feel like there's been a couple that allow more than two entries, but for the most part, I usually see two entries as kind of the max. And I know NHC, I feel like their contest also has a cap on how many entries you can have for yourself. I've also seen some, I think, on horse tourneys where you can have four entries. And these contests will always stipulate how many entries you can have per person, like yourself.
Mhm.
So,
do you think that's kind of
yeah,
a way for some to, I don't think game the system is the right word, but I mean, obviously, if you have more entries,
right.
kind of you can play multiple angles. Do you feel that's kind of right with it, or should it really be? I mean, I personally think it should really be just like one entry per person because that's kind of the way
Yeah.
you're playing at the track. But
Well, I have tried two entries a few times because I'm like, okay, it really is a mind game to me because at the end of the day, when you're handicapping, you want to play with your strongest opinions. So why would I put a second entry that is contradicting my strongest opinion? Like,
Mhm.
so I've tried it a couple times where I'm like, okay, let me do all my first choice picks on one entry, and then I'll do my second place picks on another entry and see how close I am or whatever. And it ends up usually being a mix on either entry of like, who wins. And then like horse tourneys and horse players, you can on the at least on the pick and pray formats, you do get alternate picks. So if your horse scratches, they'll use your alternate pick. Um, some of the contests, like at Horseshoe that I play during the week, if your horse scratches, and because you have to send those entries in before a certain time, it's kind of the pick and pray
Okay.
option. Um, if your horse scratches, they'll go with the post time favorite. So some contests don't allow for alternates, and so that kind of stinks. But yeah, I think the second entry, I've tried to understand why you'd want two entries. I know people think it betters their chances, but to me, it kind of jinxes me a little bit.
Yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
it's like I want to put in my strongest opinions, and why would I bet against myself? I
Yeah.
don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. No, no, yeah, I didn't. I never quite, and I'm sure there's people that have strategies
Yeah.
when they do those
Right.
things, but I never quite understood the. But then again, I've also seen some people on the pick and praise that just bet the same number across the board, and
Oh,
somehow, and
yes.
they end
There's
up,
that.
yeah, winning.
Yes.
So it's,
Yes. It's like all four. And I've tried that for, I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to test the strategies. Like, it's like, oh, it's so frustrating when you see people that just pick all fives and they end up in the top three, and you're
Yep.
just like, really?
And I guess that's the I mean I've sat next to people that I spent hours handicapping a race and they're like, "Ooh, that one's
Yes,
got purple on. I'm betting that." And
right.
yeah,
Yes.
and they win and it's just like
Yeah.
super frustrating.
My
Um,
favorite is when I'm at tracks and I have friends with me and they want me to teach them how to handicap. And so I teach them just the basics and they ended up winning all day and I haven't won anything. And I'm just like, how does this work?
so and I guess I mean much as we're kind of joking about that, I mean there
Yeah.
are different strategies going in. Like playing a
Oh, yeah.
tournament, I've heard anyway, playing is a lot different than kind of playing at the track or if you're just playing kind of the regular bet. So is your
Yes.
strategy much different if you're betting at the track versus doing tournament play?
Not really. It depends. Like in the live money ones, I do tend to kind of see like, okay, if it's playing more chalky, like maybe all I need is just again one big long shot if everyone else is picking favorites. Because in the live ones, you can pretty much gauge from the leaderboard who has picked all of the favorites. So it's like, okay, I really only need one like 10 to 1 horse or one 8 to 1 horse that can bump me up and beat this person's favorite that they're going to pick. Um, and that can shoot me from 20th place to first place. So I kind of use, and I typically, I'm not like a lot of people. I don't like to put favorites on top because at the end of the day, I try to bet as little as possible to make as much as possible. So if I can spend $4 on a horse that's 20 to 1 that meets all these different angles I use or patterns, then I'm like, yes, this 100% can beat um, the favorite or whatever, then that's going to pay me more than putting $4 on a 9 to 5
Yeah.
horse. Yeah.
Okay.
Um, but some people just like to win, and so they don't care to bet the 9 to 5 horse because there's like, I just want that feeling of winning. I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, I'm on the more of the long game, I guess people call it, but yeah.
And for most of the tournaments, especially the live, you're kind of playing with a set bet amount, right? So like you were saying, like four,
Yes.
so basically everybody's betting technically the same dollar amount on their
Yeah.
bets.
Now, I have played some contests which I don't necessarily like this format where I played one recently on Twin Spires where it was a $40 buy-in, so you had $20 bankroll and then $20 entry. Now you had to play five, like you had to pick at least five horses in five different races of that day at I think it was Saratoga. Um, what I didn't like about that contest is it wasn't just the win place bet that you could do. It was, oh, now we have doubles. Now we can do trifectas. Now we can do I think it was you could do win place show, and then doubles and a trifecta, and you could box or whatever with those. I think you could do exactas too. And so that really does mess with your mind because then it's like you don't know, you get caught up
Yeah.
thinking about what kind of bets other people are doing to get more money, instead of trying to focus on like, okay, like what is my best chances to turn, this $20 into this, but once that $20 was done, you couldn't add from your own bankroll. Like you had to play with your contest bankroll. So if you're playing, you know, win place and then an exacta and a try on just one race, you still had to make bets on for other races. So those, even though you made three bets on
Yeah.
like race one, it didn't count towards the five. So I'm like, I don't understand that strategy. Why would you give people all these different options? I don't know. I didn't think it was I don't think those are an even playing field, those types.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, So and you talked, and obviously don't have to give out your secrets or your systems or anything like
Yeah.
that, but do you have a more favorite, or are you strictly kind of looking at the form, or do you use things like Thorograph, other sheets numbers? Like, what do you use to kind of
No,
manage?
I totally am going off of the racing forums. I know some people use like computer software programs to help them and stuff like that. Um, I don't. I'm more of like pen and paper, studying the forums. Sometimes, like on the bigger race days, I might look at replays, um, those types of things. But mostly, I also look at jockey trainer combos. Some people, I have friends that don't buy into that at all. And I'm like, no, but it's true. Like there's some jockeys that and trainers that just work really well together. They know the horses that they're gonna get or whatever. They know what the horse is gonna do in order to really tell the jockey good instructions or whatever it may be. But there's an angle
Yeah,
there. And then also one of my big ones that I really like as far as like jockey trainers and stuff is looking at if it's a track, say um, Saratoga right now. Say Kendrick Carmouche is suddenly not there on a big race day. I'm gonna look at, well, where if he's not at Saratoga today, where is he at that is more important in this race? And if it's some oddball track, I'm like, well, I'm putting money on that horse because he doesn't, that's not his normal track. And someone told him, like, hey, I have a horse for you. This is a sure win. So sure enough, majority of the time, that's a really good play. So I try to look for stuff like that. But yeah, I'm mostly pen and paper. And looking at past performances and different angles and things. Just because I like to test my own like skills and knowledge and just know that and then that's not to say that's wrong, that other people do that, but that's just my own personal thing is I like to test my own knowledge and abilities.
yeah, no, I'm sort of the same way. And I find sometimes, I mean, I usually mostly use the form, and I can be thrown if I focus too much at looking at buyer figures or something. So
Yeah,
I
yeah,
try to look at the whole picture, at least when I'm doing it.
yeah.
Obviously, I'm not getting, excessively rich off it, but it still is fun.
Right,
Um,
right. Yeah.
uh, for those things. So, looking at the tournaments, what has been your biggest win or score at a tournament so far that you played?
Oh my gosh. When I first was starting, there were some feeders at Gulfstream Park, that I was like on a streak. I was winning like three in a row with like ginormous bombs. Like I won like $150 for that day and like big margin to the next person because I had hit some really big bombs, like 25 to 1 horses.
Nice.
And there was a couple times where that happened. I've won feeders that were like a $500 entry into a qualifier. Those are probably some of the biggest ones. Um, and then I just can't get past those qualifier rounds. I always either end up in the middle or like 150th out of 600 people, which I'm like, okay, I mean, that's still pretty cool. There's been a couple times where I've ended up in the top 75, and I'm like, okay, that's really awesome. So as much as I want to win, I still look at those as wins because I'm moving up. And it's like one of these days I'm going to get in the top 10, one of these days I'm going to get in the top
Yep.
5, and one of these days I'm going to win it. So
Oh
you
yeah,
just have to
nice.
stay consistent. Yeah.
And I think that's the advice a lot of, at least I've seen with handicappers that do this long term, have said kind of, unless you're really struggling or something's not, just stay with your
Yeah.
system, because if you keep trying to
Right.
change, it's not gonna work out for you.
Right. Yeah. And I will say too, a lot of times, what I try to do as well, not so much on contest days, but in my general handicapping, there's a couple horse racing analysts that I feel like uh, majority of the time are really on it, like Caitlin Free, Scott Shapiro. I try to, especially at Turfway, because people always struggle with synthetic, and I love Turfway. I don't
Turfway
know
is
what
a
it
fun meet
is.
to watch. Just, my
Yes.
God, I think I can't. I
Yeah.
think it was even this season. They said like the average pick payout was I don't know, 45,000, or it was just
Yeah,
some
there's bombs
incredible number.
galore.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I had a couple times where I hit, what was it? Like a $600 exacta or something, or it was exacta and a try, and it happened to me twice in the turfway season this year, and I was like, yes. So those were like some of my bigger wins so far. But I always try to do my own handicapping, and then I'll look for the racing analysts that I feel are like really on it, and I'll compare my picks to theirs. And that's when I'll tune in to the broadcasts and stuff. And I'm like, okay, they have three of my four horses. Like I'm there, I must be on the same wavelength as them and looking for the same things. So that's how I feel like, okay, I do know what I'm talking about.
Do you look a lot at now? I mean, now that so much is online, I mean, do you look a lot at workouts, like the video workouts that are now posted kind of everywhere, or?
No, not really. I know some friends do, but sometimes I'm like, people explain to me what I'm supposed to be looking for. I'm like, I don't know what I'm supposed to be looking for in a workout because it could just be a cold day and that horse is feeling really great, like, um, now I will look at in the forms, like if they have a bullet workout and things like that, especially if it's a bullet workout where it's more than just like 10, the fastest of
Yeah.
10. I really look at like, are they the fastest of like 40 horses that day? Those types of things. But visually, no, I don't really know what to look for.
Yeah, I'm sort of the same way. I look at
Yeah.
some of them, but it's just it's I agree. There's a lot of variables, and they have those ones they call morning glories, which seem to work out so great
Yeah.
in the morning, and then just you don't understand how they can run like or do gallop out 6 furlongs and 110 in a workout, but
Yeah.
they can't do it in a race and can't even come close to that.
Right.
Like,
Where there's like all these horses surrounding them and
yep.
engulfing them, and they're like a 2-year-old, and they're like, oh, I don't know what to do. But
No.
yeah, so I look more, if I'm gonna look at videos, it'll be more of like racing replays. Obviously, if they're, first time starter, you don't get that. So, a lot of times with like first time starters, I really rely heavily on that jockey trainer combo and then the percentage of the trainer for first time starters. Um, so that's what I tend to look at when it's like maiden special weight and you have all these starters and stuff. Some people will find the horse that has had a start and they're like, oh yeah, that horse is gonna win, and it ends up being chalky, and you're like, no, it's not usually how it works, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah, no, I know the race experience angle. A lot of people like to play up, or at least
Yeah,
bet according to how those go. Um,
yeah.
so if you were gonna, oh, actually, I guess before I ask this one, are there any tournaments out there? Sort of, I a lot of times, especially with the online things, I make the equivalent of kind of like poker, where you can sort of play in quote unquote tournaments, but there's no money on the line or anything, like you're kind of like learning the game and playing with quote unquote credits or whatever. Is there anything where
Oh
like
yeah, like mocks. Yeah,
somebody can get into, playing a tournament without having to, even though I know the fees are really low and for a lot of
yeah.
these feeders, but if somebody just wanted to kind of practice once or twice to see kind of how they do those tournaments exist online, or is it more?
Yeah, so that's where I really like what Horseshoe does because those are all free contests. It's mock money.
Hmm.
So you're picking like the Dooley Legends contest. You're picking horses from like it's usually race 3 through 8. And you just send the form in and you essentially have like everyone has mock money, so they're $2 win place show bets. And so it's accumulating. And so then the top three people usually win cash prizes
Oh,
on those contests. So you enter them for free, but you are still have a chance to win money. Hawthorne, was it last year? They had this really amazing contest that was free to enter. Um, Again, it was a long game. It was a long one. It went on for several weeks, but it was uh, a $2 place showdown, and so you're actually looking for the horse to get the second place. Um, and if it came in and won, you would still get the win place and all that. But it was really awesome because you would just log into their contest system online and you make your picks, and it was accumulative. and that was free to enter. So I would say to research your home tracks and see what contests they have live that you can enter for free, and then what contests, if they're also, you can play online with those. So, um, I would also, if there's people that are going to listen to this that work for those tracks, to really do more of those because that's how you're going to get people involved and having fun while they're at the track.
Yeah.
Because every time I've gone out to Horseshoe, they have some sort of little contest like that, like even a drawing that you can just enter to win like $1,000. You just put your name down on a paper and you put it in a box. But they always have those, pick five winners in over these five races type contests. Um, so it would be awesome if more of the smaller tracks can have those online contests where it's free to enter or even minimal to enter. Even if it's like $20, something like that. We need more tracks doing those smaller contests that are fun and accessible to more people.
Cool. And that sort of actually was a great segue because you kind of led into the next question I was going to ask was, obviously one of the things that ThoroFan is about is trying to bring new fans in and especially handicappers and stuff. So, as somebody who's kind of worked into the tournament things and also playing at the tracks and just becoming a fan, what can tracks do? Because I know one of the big things, it seems like sometimes out there we have interesting promotional ideas, or you look at some of the telecasts that are out there, which make it look great, but there's not a lot of actual on-track things going on that would
Yeah.
attract people to come out and, go to the track and enjoy the races. So is that something you see as potentially drawing more fans into the sport or contests like this?
Yeah, I definitely think so because it gets people, I think, thinking about maybe, what horses they're picking when they're at the track or looking at the program that is available and saying, yeah, I'm going to go with this horse and I'm going to write this horse down. Anytime I go to the track, I have like I have a pad folio. My friends joke with me about it, but yeah, I have a notepad in there and I carry all my stuff. And so when people see that and they see me with my forms, I always get someone asking me, "Hey, who?" First, it's always the icebreaker at the track is always, "Hey, who do you like in race?" Blah
Yep.
blah blah. And then it just spurs a conversation, and then they see like, "Oh wow, you like actually have notes that you wrote down and horses circles and all these different things written in your form. Like, can you show me how to read this?" And I think that's the biggest, I don't want to say like a pun, like handicap,
Yeah.
is people not being able to read the forms that are in the programs. Because they're the choice that is used in the programs are the most difficult forms to read versus some of the more easier ones to learn and read. So I try as best as I can to at least teach people like speed figures, kind of how to look at the quarter posts and stuff. So I think if there's more education live on the track, like Oaklawn, they have in between races, they'll show videos teaching people how to bet and make simple bets, whether it's exactas or again how to read the form and things like that. So I think adding contests could just be it kind of could be a twofold thing. Not only are you teaching people how to read forms in handicap, but then, oh, hey, here's this contest you can enter too while you're here at the track and you have, a chance to win $500. I think it's just an incentive to get people coming back to the track and trying each week for that free contest to win free $500, or $1,000 sometimes. So yeah, I definitely think if there was more tracks focusing on, hey, it's not enough to get people to the track. If you really want to turn those casual spectators into true horse racing fans, there really needs to be education around teaching them how to bet
Yep.
and how to handicap and in digestible formats too.
Yeah,
That's
and
the
I
key
think
part.
it's I completely agree, and I think one thing too that they fail or not really fail, but it just need to understand it is it's not kind of I think the learning curve takes a little bit of time. So it's not something as simple as just looking at something real quick and then being able to pick it
Right.
up right away. So it's,
Yeah.
I think that's something that, people that are interested in getting involved
Yeah.
you have to be in it for the long game, because
Yes.
every now and then you get lucky and, hit lighting in a bottle first time out and you think it's real easy, but it's
Right. Right.
not always going to work that way.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
So, oh, go ahead.
I was telling a friend too, I was like, if I could get a job where I am that on track person, like I explain it this way. When you go to Nashville and you go line dancing or any place that has line dancing, there's always someone in a shirt that says, "Ask me how to line dance." And I just want to walk around a track and say, "Ask me how to handicap." And just walk around the tracks and teach people how to handicap in just a simple way, like, hey, this is what you're looking for as far as the odds. Like, yeah, don't go with the number 4 because it's again that 9 to 5 or 8, some weird. If it looks like weird odds, you're not gonna win anything. So it's not worth putting even $10 down because you're not gonna get much back. But if you look at a horse that has a little bit longer odds, that has, this, this, and this, you're gonna win way more than that person that put $10 on the 8 to 5 or whatever weird odds. And every time I say that, they're like, "Oh yeah, like okay, so like help me find a long shot." I'm like, "I'm on it, buddy. That's my specialty."
No, no, and that's a really good point too, because I remember a couple of times when I was at Penn National, just standing on the rail, and there were a couple of people next to me. It's like not even understanding what the numbers on the tote board mean, because
Yes.
I kept hearing them say, it's like, oh yeah, I put $2 on this horse, and oh, now I'm going to win $5. No, wait, now I'm going to win $20, and they're looking at the
Yes.
win pool go up and
Yeah.
not the odds. And I finally had to say,
Yeah.
that's not what that means.
Yeah.
So
Like
yeah,
you're
just
putting, yeah.
simple things like
Yeah.
that to kind of help people
Yes.
along
Yeah.
with
And as
that.
soon as I say, "Oh, it's going to take you $5 to win 8 versus $1 to win 8," like, yeah.
Oh, yeah, value is definitely there.
Yeah.
So, outside, what is your favorite bet to play? Like outside of the tournaments, like what is your favorite bet to play when you're at the track?
I usually like if I'm feeling very confident in my opinion, and I've had again, I feel like there's levels of handicapping and you have to build up to this point. I first started just doing $2 win place bets to then just focusing on $4 win bets. And sometimes those smaller bets again can get you higher bankroll than if you're just tossing $10 out there every single race. So I now have started probably in the last year or year and a half have worked up to doing $10 win bets. And because I'm not like, money doesn't go on trees for me. So
I know the
um
feeling.
yeah, everyone has you have to figure out what your comfort level is, I feel like. And starting small when people are first starting to handicap can go a long way to building a bankroll. Um, and I use that too, like if I've built my bankroll up, so like I mentioned, I won like this $600. Well, big stakes weekends during Derby weekend, like in the mud and everything, really can eat up that bankroll. So when I'm like, okay, I need a refresher, I always come back and I start back at small, to build the bankroll back up. So my favorite bets now are really knowing like my strong opinion, a $10 win bet, and then I'm a fan of boxing, so I like exacta boxes, I like try boxes. I've started getting into a little bit more of trying super boxes as well, which I've hit a few supers lately. Um, but I also really like a good double. Good doubles can pay really, really well.
Yeah, and you don't have to worry about like then stretching it out to 4 or 5 or
Yes.
so that
Yeah. Yeah. Because you can even do like, one horse for say like race 5 and then 2 for the next race, and it's still a $4 bet, but that $4 can get you like 150 or 200 or sometimes even more depending on what horses you picked. So yeah.
Cool. So yeah, so all of this has been great information, and I think it's definitely going to go a long way towards helping a lot of people, and especially those that follow ThoroFan. And I think we can actually even work something in to work some of that education, doing future segments
Yeah.
with you and stuff like that to do a lot of teaching
Yeah.
fans. So
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
that would be really cool. So just before we go, I always like to ask people this too. Best horse or that you've ever seen live at a track run.
Oh my gosh. I got to see Flightline win the Breeders' Cup Classic at Keeneland. And that was amazing because I that was my first time since college at Keeneland, and my first time at Breeders' Cup. So I had kind of developed this philosophy the whole weekend. Like I was on a farm tour and I was getting out of my vehicle and someone asked me where we should go for this farm tour. And I was like, well, I don't know. I was going to ask you. And they're like, oh, you look like you know what you're doing. So that's why we asked you. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to run with this the whole weekend. So everywhere I went, I just looked like I knew what I was doing. And so I ended up watching Flightline. I had gotten invites to boxes to watch him run and all that. And I was like, you know what? I really want to go on the first turn where all the backstretch workers are standing there watching, and the state vet. I was standing next to the state veterinarian and stuff. And it was like, yeah, we couldn't necessarily see the whole thing happening. We were just listening to the race caller, and it was like we heard Flightline was kind of, I think he was like near the middle, or he was not in the front starting out. And we're like, oh my God, where is Flightline? And then we heard the call about Epicenter getting pulled up, and we're all like, no, we hope he's okay.
Yeah.
He ended up being okay. And then all of a sudden it was like they went around the far turn, and we're in the first turn, and we're like, everyone's standing up, and we're looking, trying to find them, and then they're like, and Flightline comes to the front, and we're like, yeah. It was just a super cool um moment of time where we were all just like cheering for this horse that had gained such a fanfare. Yeah, it was just so cool. And then I've seen again like Torpedo Anna. I'm like a groupie. I just happen to be a groupie because I end up at the tracks when she's running, and then I end up either in the paddock when she's going around, or yeah. So I've seen her a couple times. I saw her at Breeders' Cup as well. I saw her schooling at Travers. Our schooling for Travers in the paddock at Saratoga, and I got to be in the paddock, so that was really cool. So yeah, Torpedo Anna, she's been up there, and then I also that same year got to see when I saw Flightline, I saw Cody's Wish as well. I think that was the same year.
It was the
Yeah.
same year. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. So that one was really cool too. I got to see him, and I always love that story. I hope they make it into a movie, but that would be great.
I know they're doing, like I said, I'm sure somebody somewhere is going to be like,
Yeah.
I was fortunate enough because I was at that Breeders' Cup too. I actually just in leaving ran into the Dortmunds because they happened
Oh,
to be leaving.
really?
So yeah, it was really kind
Yeah.
of a really amazing thing to see and just how that it is kind of amazing when you look back on the entire story and just from the time
Yeah.
whole and everything seemed to just it almost never happens in racing where everything works out absolutely
Yes.
perfectly and
Yeah.
for him it did. So
Yeah. And I've gotten to see Idiomatic run a few times, and she's so beautiful, even in person. Like, just was an amazing horse as well. And every time I see like Torpedo Anna run, I'm just always like, please just let them have a clean run and a safe run, and yeah, return them safely back to their barn.
Oh, that's obviously what we're hoping for above all. So,
Yes.
uh,
Yes.
is there a horse you wish you would have been able to see live? I mean, I know that's,
Yeah.
within modern history, I guess is
Yes.
the,
Yeah. I really wish that I could have seen Zenyatta or Rachel Alexander win. And then in my dream world, I wish I could have like gone to Australia to see Winx as well. Like I feel like those three, at least like on the filly mare side, are like they're amazing. And I wish my grandpa, might get a little choked up, but I wish my grandpa was still alive so that I could ask him what it was like to witness Secretariat win. Because I know he watched those races. So yeah.
Yeah, I know it's always my dad who got me involved in racing. He always tells the story of how he was actually at the Belmont for Secretariat's Belmont, and but
What?
he didn't really understand. Like he was just getting into racing, so he didn't have a seat, and it was like as far as I
Yes.
remember when he told me, it was really warm that day. He wasn't feeling great, so he's like, "Oh, I'll just go home and watch it on TV." And left, and it's just an amazing, like,
Oh
no, but nobody
no.
expected that type of performance. He
Right.
always kicks himself for like, I can't believe I left
Yeah.
when he put that type of performance on. But
Yes.
It is really, I mean, amazing, and I think that's what more people need to get out of the track, get out to the track to experience. Because
Yes.
I mean, with Rachel, I was at Saratoga when she ran in the Woodward, and I still
Yeah.
don't know how that building did not come down with the amount of
Yeah.
screaming and shaking that was going on. Just the amount of emotion the sport, and you can get so close. It's kind of like you said, you can get so close to
Yes.
the participants that you really can't do in any other sport.
Right.
And
No. And I would say too, I was at Traverse when Arcangelo won, and it was like my friend and I got emotional because she's only, it's funny, she's not a horse racing fan, but I've created one in her. She lives in Vermont. And every year, now so that was her first time that she went with me, my first time in Saratoga. And I forget which horse. I think it was New York Thunder.
New York Thunder, yeah, where that.
Yeah. And she was upset and she was kind of wanting to leave. And I talked to her and I said, let's just, stay for Traverse and stuff. Um, and so I was like, man, I hope she comes back with me after this. And then when she saw Traverse and I explained to her about like Jenna Antonucci and how awesome this is, especially for women in racing, for her to win the Traverse in the same year as winning, yeah, it was the Belmont.
Yeah.
Um, like it was like phenomenal and stuff. So then the next year, she messaged me first and she's like, "Hey, when are we going to Saratoga?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm so glad that you're like so wanting to go." And so yeah, so now it's like this will be 3 years in a row we're heading to Saratoga in August, and so I've created at least a Saratoga fan.
Hey,
Yeah,
no, that's great.
yeah,
No, so I mean, thank you so much. You've given like a ton of information, and I think your enthusiasm is what we need more of, obviously, in the
thanks.
sport, and to bring
Yeah,
people in. But I really do think that tournaments are something that a lot of more people need to know about to really get involved.
yes,
And it really
yeah,
is not something that's always, I think, publicized as much as at the tracks they should. Kind of like you said,
right,
they
yeah,
need to do more of that, and hopefully by getting this out, will entice more people to. I mean, maybe not the
yes,
best for you because that just
right,
puts more people you're competing against, but
yeah, no.
but no, to definitely get more people, especially the younger generations, obviously more involved in the sport. So
Yeah, and I would say too, like at least like within like horseshoes contests and stuff, because you start seeing some of the names like when they post the results, and then you become friends with them on Twitter. I still call it Twitter. And you build sort of a camaraderie each week when the results come out, like, oh, hey, so and so, like, what happened there? Like kind of start that razzing with people, and next thing you know, you have friends, and they're asking you like, hey, are you doing this contest this week? And I'm like, well, yeah, I guess so. Um, so you build like a further connection, and I'll just kind of wrap up too saying that like what you said about more people getting to the track and experiencing that live in person energy, it really is like you can't describe like even for as massive as Kentucky Derby and Oaks are, and people are like, there's so many people or whatever. It's like you have to go to some of these events knowing that
yep,
and know that it's an experience. And if you go into it with low expectations and just know, I always tell people on those types of things, the key to having a fun experience is just being up for anything. When no matter what the track is, even with Saratoga being busy, you find a bathroom that doesn't have long lines and you time it correctly and
yep,
you'll have a good experience. And same with food lines, same with the betting lines, all that. Get your bets in on an app at a time and you have time for socializing. And then if you do those things, then you can live in the moment and truly feel that magical atmosphere and the energy of the people. Because leading up to even Oaks this year and stuff, like you can feel the energy building throughout the day. And you're just like standing there, and all these people are just cheering for these horses. And you're all collectively there in that moment of time with that collective interest of the horses. Nothing else going on in the outside world. We're all just a little community who care about horses. And
no,
that's awesome.
yeah, and that
Yeah.
that that sums it up better than I probably ever could. So,
Yeah.
no, thank you again so much for jumping on with
Yeah.
us, and everybody out there, definitely pay attention to her picks when they come around on
Yes.
Handicappers Corner, and
Yeah.
hopefully we'll be talking with you more and getting you on more to maybe discuss a little bit of some of these betting strategies and handicapping education. So I think
Awesome.
we've
Thank you
opened
so
the door
much.
there. So thanks
Yes.
again.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
So, hope that was informative and spur some of you guys to get out there and try out some of these tournaments, get involved online, some of the great websites that are out there. Check out things at your local track and get involved in any handicapping tournaments they have going on there and, play along. You never know. All it takes is that one lucky long shot, and maybe you'll be on your way to Vegas or making that big score. So, hope everybody really enjoyed that sit down with MJ. Thank you so much, MJ, for taking the time to talk with us at ThoroFan. And again, be sure to check out her picks when her turn is up at Handicappers Corner on our website, ThoroFan.com. And if you subscribe to our newsletter that goes out every week. So, as always, I am Doc with ThoroFan, and if you are looking for the most accurate and up-to-date information about everything and anything involving this great sport of thoroughbred racing that is put on by us, the racing fans, for you, the racing fan, there's only one place you need to turn, and that is right here at ThoroFan.